moment of truth. Give it a start. Pull the choke on. Oh, no! Ah. So at the heartbreak of the pet cock not fixing the Xtrainer running issues, I had to move on. I couldn't keep focusing on the Xtrainer anymore. So here's kind of the setup that I'm going with on the X Pro and what I'm doing to it to get ready for this race this weekend. I got my carburetor all pulled apart. I just swapped out the main jet and the pilot jets with the JD jetting kit. And Sam helped me put the T-Rex throttle cable on, threaded all the way up to the T-Rex throttle housing system because I break the domino systems like crazy. They're just plastic. I snapped like 3 of them on the Xtrainer, so we're just throwing that on there right away. Been over smashing the handlebars a bunch. This is like fully bulleted billet aluminum. I don't know all the fancy metal terms, but basically it's tough as nails. I haven't broken, cracked, or smashed it since I put it on the Xtrainer, and I've beaten that Xtrainer to heck. So one of the first things that I put on now, you can't put lock-on grips on the T-Rex system, so I usually put lock-on grips on this side and then a regular grip on that side. We also moved the kill switch, the start kill switch over to this side, and we took the light assembly off. We put the SXS skid plate on. Gerald put the brake rotor guards, the shark fin on that side, and the rad guards. It's coming together. I gotta put the SXS handguards on and I gotta move the NSX straps over on the Xtrainer and then should be ready to rock, I think. And we don't have swing arm guards yet, which is like hurting my soul. I don't know what to do for that. I gotta ride it. Pulled this thing off because it's one of the first things I break when I start doing wheelies and obstacles and stuff. Most people run as their sag.
Standard 110, 120, probably maybe. It depends on the bike to some extent.
And what was the sag when I jumped on there?
80.
80 sag stock for a 125-pound rider. Nailed it. Anywho, we tried to mess with the sag a little bit, but it turns out we ended up winding the spring literally all the way out. There were like 2 or 3 threads left at the top, and the best I got was a 90 sag. That's pretty much what I got to run with for this race, for this whole trip. Stock suspension. This is why I feel like it's super, super important to set your suspension. Clickers sure can do a lot, but getting it sprung for your weight is so, so, so important. I go with Corey from Ride Suspension. He's super hard enduro focused. He does do faster paced riders, but if like slow speed riding is your jam, then Corey's the person to be talking to, I feel like. All right, after all that bike work and when we finally got the sag set, it was time to take the bike out for its first test ride. I like to do the very first like riding in your backyard just to get a feel for the bike so that you're not trying to figure out what's going on out on the trails. So I started with just some really basic figure eights, and then I went ahead and moved into a straight line braking drill just to get a feel for the power and the brakes. And I like to do this because it's way easier to adjust your levers and your controls in your backyard than it is out on the trails. So just those 2 drills told me that my rear brake was still way too low, so I went ahead and adjusted that. And then I moved on to going over this little dirt jump. So then I wanted to get a feel going over obstacles and like how easy it was to lift the front tire. And look at that, second time, dialed. Well, I set the filming to 4K 30, but for some reason it switched to 24, so sorry if that video sucks on YouTube. First impressions in the backyard are, it's balanced really nicely. I still feel like I'm riding an Xtrainer, like size-wise. It is a little taller though, and I think that might come from needing to break in the suspension, right? Got to put like 10 hours on the suspension before it actually settles to where it is. And it definitely needs to be resprung because we set the sag and it's still way too stiff, like super not where it should be. And we got to put mousses in it and softer tires, lower profile knobs, all that stuff adds up. When I was doing the figure eights, it felt just like the Xtrainer. Doing the straight line braking drills, one thing I did notice about the X Pro is the brake lever is longer than the Xtrainer. It is. So I put an aftermarket brake tip on it like brake tip extender thing, and it has knobs that make it taller, which is nice. I have the brake lever, the rear brake lever, maxed out at the top height, and I still think it's too low. I don't quite know what I'm gonna do, if there's anything I can do. It's got great feel when the brake lever is on the ball of my foot and not the tip of my toes. So it's kind of like learning the bike, you know, but maybe we can get used to it before the race. The low end is the same as the Xtrainer, but the way that the power goes to the ground is different. And I like it a lot, actually. It's very responsive, very like intuitive almost. With the Xtrainer, you really have to work for it. Like if you want to lift the front end, you really got to mean it. And this is almost think it and it happens. And that's really cool. But I got really giddy when I went over this dirt pile over here. I jumped it and the landing was so plush. I couldn't believe it. On the Xtrainer, I would have bottomed it out. I would have like clank, like it would have slapped. A whole bunch of noise would have happened. This was like landing on a cloud. Like I didn't know if I got air or not. The only reason I knew I got air was because I could see myself in the air. Yeah, really stoked, really excited to take it on the turn track, do some fast stuff with it, see what the suspension is made out of, and we'll report back. I gotta go ride with Dimitri out there, so let's do it. But when I went to go meet Dimitri, this was the position that I found him in.
This is not going. Jesus. There's a hole here. Come on, front end. It's when I gotta have my bike started, but I can't reach the starter now. Come on. Oh. Oh, there he goes. Come on, come on. Oh. Oh. Oh.
So then we went out to the turn track, just spent about 45 minutes out here. This is like the only video we got from the whole time, so I don't have a cool montage for you, but let's hear the breakdown. Okay, test ride on the X Pro is done, and it was incredible. Fast-paced stuff on this bike is astounding. The obstacles and the whoops you can hit with this thing is insane. Like half the time I don't even know that I've gotten air because everything is just so plush. Like the Xtrainer, the suspension is soft, and when you jump off of something, like you have to work your body to make sure that you absorb the impact because the bike does not. That is not the case on the X Pro. The X Pro is like floating on a cloud. That being said, when I went into some rock ravines and did the enduro turn track, I felt like I could not keep the bike in a straight line, but it's not the bike's fault. First of all, I'm still riding stock suspension and I haven't messed with the clickers at all, but the main thing is I don't know what air pressure is in the front tire. For all I know, it could be 25 PSI. I have seen it before, fresh off the dealer floor. Like that occurred to me halfway through going up the rock canyon that I can't be mad at the bike for tracking because I don't know. And the rear tire is super stiff too. So tire setup could be part of it. The other part is like we set the sag on the bike. The best we could get was 90 and usually I run like 120. So like it desperately needs to be resprung for my weight, but that's probably why it's so incredible in the fast stuff. The other thing that I'm really struggling with is just learning the brakes. The brakes are really touchy right out the gate. I'm sure they need to be bedded in still and like they need some work. My big gripe is like the rear brake lever. I have maxed out the height of this brake lever and I still feel like it's too low so far. Hopefully, my fingers are crossed that the more I ride it today, the more I can figure out this brake. That's pretty much my two major gripes with it. The game plan, this is a really terrible game plan, but if the parts that are showing up for the Xtrainer, if they fix the Xtrainer, and we're racing the Xtrainer, and we gotta put the Xtrainer back together. If it does not work, then we have to fully cannibalize the Xtrainer. The suspension on the X Pro is insane when it comes to the fast stuff. Look at this, I rode 2 days worth of fast stuff on the Xtrainer, both forks are leaking. And I'm pretty sure the shock is blown out too. But the X Pro, magic. Oh my goodness. And the power, the engine is my favorite engine I've ever ridden. I love this engine way more than the Xtrainer, which is really interesting to me because I have always loved tractor bikes, like low power. So the X Pro is heavier, but that weight definitely drives you through obstacles a whole lot more. Like, I'm not saying I gotta lose the body English that I had to have on the Xtrainer to get it up and over things, but this is cheating for sure. Today, what I'm gonna do is test clicker settings because I need to figure out if I can get this bike to track in a straight line and technical stuff. Like, I gotta mess with that. The throttle cable is pinching. The way we routed it, it pinched on the turn track a couple times, got stuck open. Very scary. Hopefully those parts show up really early on Thursday and not Thursday night because I have to leave for this race at 10 a.m. That's the cutoff. 10 a.m. Friday, I have to leave. So later in the afternoon, I got the call that the parts for the Xtrainer weren't going to show up on time, so I went ahead and cannibalized the Xtrainer and took the X Pro out on the enduro turn track. All right, it's really windy. It's raining here in California for some crazy reason, but it's amazing. Out on the X Pro, the last ride before the race, we got the 9mm master cylinder on, and Sam found a way to raise the rear brake some more, and oh my gosh, everything is amazing. Like, I am so jazzed. I did some like 4th gear wide open whoops, and now I'm at the enduro turn track, about to get blown over, and I'm just jazzed. We're on this last little time before the race, so hopefully you can hear me. Not only was it so windy that my phone kept blowing over to take videos, but I also lost the stickers on my fork guards. Sorry, Corey. Anyway, I packed up right after that test ride and I headed out late at night, so I didn't get much video, but I ended up doing some early morning yoga before I left for my second stint of driving out to Arizona, because it turns out I can't touch the floor in my van while I drive, and I guess somehow, according to like body physics, that pulls on your back a lot and it makes your hips just sheer agony all the time if you can't touch the floor. So I basically built like a custom seat out of towels and pillows now when I drive and go on extended road trips, and I made it a point to get out of the van like every hour and a half to 2 hours to go move around, just like run some circles around the van or do some yoga, just something to try and keep everything loose, because man, is it not a good feeling. Anyway, back to some dirt bike content. All right, we made it out to mile markers for take 2. Parked at a super secret location. If you know where it is, good for you. If you don't, come take a class with me and then you'll know. I'm gonna go just ride a little bit out here now on the bike and the setup and everything before the race tomorrow. So basically I just came out here, gonna jump out, do my due diligence and not ride any of the marked trails. Just gonna go on an adventure and see what I can find. So I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna try the loop because it's cursed, but I will head in that general direction. Weather says it's supposed to rain. It doesn't quite look like rain, but it sure does feel like it. So my fingers are crossed that it does come in about 2 hours. Hopefully I'm back and packed up by then, because loading bikes in the rain sucks. As much as I love riding in the rain, loading in the rain, not awesome. But yeah, should be a good time. It's so green. The colors are so contrasting out here. It's crazy. While I was out riding, I ran into the one, the only, the myth, the legend, Nicole Bradford. If you don't know who Nicole Bradford is, she and Louise Forsley used to battle in trials way back when. And then she's also a 7-time women's ISDE racer, rider, also champion. She is just all around a legend for women in dirt biking, and she's just an amazing person. I got to ride with them for a while, and then eventually I did have to break off to head back to my van. I was getting a little low on gas, so I decided just to take the washback. Super easy ride, just straightforward sand wash to the road. I don't get it!